Yeah, I'm just grooving with my own beat. Welcome, everybody, to Casting for Two, episode 12, with your host, Chris. That is me. I am he who is Chris. Today, we got a good episode for you guys. Before I talk about that, I have another sponsor that I got to do. The 3D Doritos didn't work out, so I got another one. Where is it? Cue the sound effect of paper. Okay, here it is. Are you tired of those chicken strips that are just long and straight and boring? Well, try chicken rings. All the fun of an onion ring, but with chicken. Yeah, that's what it says. So hopefully we'll get some money out of that, but if not, it's all good. Because it's all good, because we have my guest today is none other than Michael Torpey, the Torpinator, or Torpey, or Michael Torp, either or. And you've probably seen him on Jimmy Fallon. He's also done commercials with Chase, the credit cards, but I know him from Black 20, which is an internet company he used to be a part of. If you go to YouTube, you can check out all their videos. They're very funny. Check out Wheels, which is awesome. And so I had a great conversation with Michael Torpey, and let's just get into it, okay? Let's get into it. So I'm done. So Chris, you know what to do. Just cue the music, please. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Michael. How are you?
Doing well, Chris. How are you, man?
I'm doing good. So, how this show works, it's kind of just a loose show where you can basically talk about anything, really.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a huge fan of the Black 20 videos that used to come out.
Yeah.
I first saw a lot of the parody trailers because I'm a fan of film.
Right.
And then I got hooked on Wheels.
That's great.
Which I still watch probably like maybe 5 times a year, just because. I don't know. I just always find it very funny.
Well, that's nice to hear.
But would you mind telling me a little bit about yourself? A little bit of your background.
Yeah, sure. I grew up in northern New Jersey in a small town called Glen Rock, New Jersey, which was a very standard suburban town, half hour outside of New York City, two train lines that came through town and took everybody to work in the morning, took everybody home at night, and we had a 4th of July parade and homecoming parade, and it was like a little Americana, classic apple pie and all good suburban life. It was a nice little town to grow up in. Mm-hmm. And I started doing plays when I was pretty young. Like when I was in 5th grade, I can remember I auditioned for the role of Alan Pinkerton, the first Private Eye. And I was devastated when I didn't get it. Oh. And I think that was part of the moment when I was like, oh, why did I want this so badly? Like, why was I so invested in this little class play that I got so super pissed off when I didn't get this role? Mm-hmm. So then when it came time around for the 6th grade graduation show, which was called In Quest of Columbus, mm-hmm. An in-depth probe of the traveling across the ocean by Christopher Columbus and company. Mm-hmm. I went into my room and I rehearsed these songs, and because it was obviously a musical. Because if you're going to do the story of Christopher Columbus, you do it in song.
Right. If you're going to do it, you're going to do it right.
Absolutely. The way, make it realistic, have them think. So I like the lead role was this tour guide who was telling the story of the trip, and I went and I learned these songs in my bedroom and auditioned in front of the class, and I got this role, and I was like really excited about it. So like I just always, I don't know, I was always kind of drawn to it. I really enjoyed singing and performing and being funny, making people laugh. It was just something I always had a good time doing. Mm-hmm. So I did it all throughout high school, and then I was a theater major at Colgate University in upstate New York. And I came to the city and just started doing the theater stuff, doing like what you do when you want to be an actor. I waited tables. I made my complete fake resume. Mm-hmm. Because waiting tables is like the classic catch-22 in New York. Like you can't wait tables unless you've waited tables in New York. Mm-hmm. So everyone makes, I mean, I at least made a fake table waiting resume, which was, just like putting other restaurants on it and just praying that they would never call them. And I started waiting tables and trying to find auditions here and there, and I ended up interning at an agency called Colstein Talent Agency, and that was the only way I could get anybody to send me out for something. I went there and I just would file other actors' headshots and send out audition notifications for other actors and call them, and then every once in a while I would convince them to send me out for something. Mm-hmm. And that's how I got my first auditions and how I, booked my first little commercial.
And how does somebody, because you're the first person I've actually talked to that started out, theater. How does one transition from theater to, behind the camera, stuff like that?
Right. Well, when I first came into the city, I did a huge mailing, and I mailed out my headshot and photo to all these different agencies and probably over 100 people. And one guy called me, and I came in for a meeting, and he recommended that I go to take a commercial class. Mm-hmm. Because, he looked at my resume and was like, oh, you've done a lot of theater stuff, but you're not going to go on Broadway right now and play all these dads you've been playing in college, So let's see if you can book some commercial stuff. So he recommended a commercial class with a guy named David Cady, who was great, and I really hit it off with this guy, and he really gave me some great strategies for booking basic commercials, like how do you go sell cough syrup? How do you talk about a computer program in a way that's not wildly boring, to a consumer through the television? And that was a huge boost, because once you start booking some commercial stuff, you can actually make a little bit of a living, and you can then start doing your other things, your internet videos that don't pay you anything, and you can start meeting more people. It's always like, how do you find that first job that, makes you a little bit of money to free you up? Mm-hmm. And for me, I was lucky. Once I started doing commercial stuff, it snowballed a little bit, and I was able to parlay that into how I make my living.
And how do you get started with Black 20? Or were you one of the founders?
I was a founding member. Oh, okay. I wouldn't say, because I wasn't like a financial founder. I wasn't part of there were three guys that kind of built the company and put the financials together. Mm-hmm. And those guys are Neil Poncelon, Jay Crowley, and Nelson Castro. Mm-hmm. Those three guys were all working together at NBC in the Page program. Mm. And they were creating, really wasn't Nelson yet, but Neil and Jay were working together on a pilot idea they had, which was pretty much if you took Conan O'Brien and Weekend Update from SNL and kind of smashed them together. Mm-hmm. So it was like, desk style headline jokes like Weekend Update, but it also would turn off into sketch and character-based jokes. But the home base was always this news anchory desk. Mm-hmm. And the show was called Out of Context, and they were casting for this pilot. I grew up with a kid who had gone to college with Jay Crowley, and he was like, hey, you're an actor. My friend's doing this little pilot thing here. Why don't you go audition for it? So I drove into the city. This was still, when I was still, I was maybe a year out of school. I was still living in my folks' house in Jersey. Mm-hmm. I drove into the city for the audition, and it went great. And they brought me back in to do the callback. And at that point, they had narrowed it down to 3 guys and 3 girls. And they were thinking they wanted to have, a male host and a female host to work off each other. So I get to this callback audition, and I meet this guy named Mike O'Gorman. And, we're waiting together and trying to be nice, but he's, clearly my competition for this role. So we're waiting up on the roof, and these guys are all down in Jay Crowley's apartment, and they're bringing everybody down to audition in there. And they finally they're like pairing everybody off. Okay, you read with this girl, the girl read with this guy to get, the feel for everybody. And then somebody down in that room said, let's bring both the mics down together. So myself and O'Gorman. Mm-hmm. So they come and they tell us this, and in our heads, in my head, it was like, okay, this is a showdown. This is it. Like, they're going to take 2 men enter, 1 man leaves. That's it. Like, this is our comedy battle. So we start doing the script and riffing things, but we're like trying to one-up each other the whole time, and it just makes for horrible comedy, like very competitive. Uh-huh. So they were like, no, be nice to each other, like work together. And we were like, oh, okay. And then they saw our chemistry together, and they were like, well, this is it. The 2 of you guys are going to do this together. We don't need, we thought we wanted a guy and a girl, but you 2 are so good together. This is it. Mm-hmm. So O'Gorman and I were hosting this little independent pilot that we filmed up on the rooftop with all the help from these other NBC pages. And we put together a little half-hour pilot. Now, nothing happened with that for well over a year. Mm-hmm. And these guys had left NBC. They finished their page program. They went on to other jobs. But a different show, I think it was Fuse. I think Fuse Network had a show that was so similar to what we had done. Mm-hmm. And we thought, at the same time, so unfunny that we were like, okay, there's a market for what we made. Mm-hmm. So they kind of got the tape back out, and they shopped it around again. And they ended up catching the interest of NBC's digital division. Mm-hmm. This is such a long story, Chris. Oh, my God.
No, I keep going.
So NBC's digital division was then like, oh, we like these guys. Come make it for us. So all of a sudden, these guys that had left NBC are now back at NBC in these producer roles, working in their division, which was called Dot Comedy at the time, which is just such a hilarious name. Like, they really nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was at this point where, like, everybody needed to have their online division. Like, everybody was freaking out. Like, YouTube had just, I think maybe had just blown up with Lazy Sunday, and everyone's like, oh, my God, the Internet's real, and we got to find, like, an online division and be funny, and here, let's throw money at this. But no one knew what to do with it yet. So we had this little show that we ended up making for Dot Comedy, which was pretty much similar to the pilot. It was O'Gorman and I hosting a alternative news magazine, kind of like a Dateline, but it was all man on the street. We'd go investigate, like speed dating, and the 2 of us would go through a round of speed dating, and we'd tape the thing, and we'd all these bits we'd like to do, and we were just goofing with people. Mm-hmm. But part of that NBC scenario was they didn't know what to do with it. So we made these episodes of the show, and they never put them up.
Oh, okay.
They never put them online. So we were like, why are we doing these? You guys don't, you don't have a format, you don't have a structure, you barely have a .comedy website. Like, you don't know what you want to do. So when they asked us to sign on for another 6 months, O'Gorman and I, Jay and Neil had been talking about leaving, and at that point, they had met Nelson Castro at NBC, and they said, listen, we're thinking about moving and starting our own company, and we want you guys to come with us and be the first, be the show that we do, be like our main creative talent. And we said, absolutely. So we all, instead of re-signing with NBC, we all went off and started our own little company, and that was Black 20.
And in the meantime, you were doing that, you were still doing all your commercials that you were talking about?
Yeah, exactly. I was still waiting tables. I was still auditioning on the side and trying to get kind of anything going.
And when you were with Black 20 doing, you know, the various videos, what I saw Network. I used to watch Network. Was that one of the first things that came out?
Yeah, Network was kind of our first our flagship series. You know, we wanted to do something that would be that would gain an audience and something that could have a little bit of a narrative story to it, and ideally be something that someone would look at and say, "Oh, I see how this can become a TV show." Mm-hmm. So we wrote these stories for Mike and I, and because we had no money, we made ourselves internet producers, so we could shoot, you know, in our office at our actual desks, and pretend like that was some sort of set, whereas it was just exactly what I did all day. And all those episodes where it's like the background is extras, those are all just people working. Mm-hmm. And then we would have to yell at them and be like, "Be quiet." Be like, "I'm on an actual phone call. You shut up." And I'd be like, "Oh, okay, you're right. Sorry." But that was it. You know, we wanted to put together something for Mike and I to work on again because we enjoyed working together so much. Mm-hmm. And then from that, then we also started Black 20 News, which Jesse Cantrell hosted. Mm-hmm. And we started the Middle Show with Dave Price. So that was our stable coming out of the gate. And we really pushed it. I mean, we worked like crazy. We wanted new content every day. So we would do 2 middle shows, an episode of news, an episode of network, and then, you know, some sort of viral or one-off piece. And those were our 5 days of the week.
What do you have a favorite like video?
You know, I loved Wheels. Wheels was so much fun to do. And it was one of our most well-received pieces. It was written up in New York Magazine, and Jason Reitman saw it and commented on how he liked it, which I thought was like ridiculous.
Yeah, and he optioned it for an actual movie.
Yeah, oh my God, I'd be thrilled. We're ready. I mean, Reitman, if you need it, I can get to work on that, no problem. We still have the wheelchair, so.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. So I loved the Wheels, and I loved working on Network. I mean, it was so much fun. It was a real team effort for the whole company. I mean, Network pitch meetings were things where everybody came together. Interns came together. Like, everybody was allowed in all of our creative meetings. We thought it was important for everyone to be involved, and it was a great way to teach interns kind of how we worked. And a bunch of interns got hired onto positions afterwards, after their internships, after they graduated college. Mm-hmm. And then they would already kind of know, you know, what the creative process was with the company. So every time an episode of Network came out, it felt like it really came from everybody. Mm-hmm. And everybody took a lot of pride in it.
How long did it take you to do an episode?
They were on a weekly basis. I mean, we shot them usually in a day. Maybe we do pickups on another day. Mm-hmm. The Network episodes came out on, what did they do? Maybe they came out on Mondays, and we shot them usually on Thursdays. But we shot them, you know, 10 days in advance. So we had like a 2-week schedule going. Mm-hmm. So it was scripts were finalized on Mondays, shot on Thursdays, and then edited for another Monday. So you always had 2 things going at the same time. You were finishing scripting and shooting something while something was being finalized in the edit. And it was a great like trial by fire for me to work on my writing and like producing, you know, because I would sit in I would work on the pre-production, I would sit in the edits and work with our editors on the episodes, and you know, really kind of working every angle of an episode.
And Black 20 lasted what till?
God, when did we close? I feel like we closed up in 2009. 9. Maybe?
Yeah, 'cause I remember one of the last videos I saw was you did a Friday the 13th slasher parody?
Yeah. We had a weird last year. Our last year, we, you know, it was always a struggle to find money to make these things because we weren't really making any money. We were trying to get acquired by companies, and we had worked with some sponsorship deals. So we actually had a great deal where the Middle Show was featured in the back of New York City taxi cabs one summer. And that was awesome. It was great exposure for the company, and it was a great like partnership deal with this mobile application called Looped. Mm-hmm. So we did have a couple revenue streams, but ultimately we were just cranking out content with the hope that somebody would say, I want you guys to come be my little studio. I want you to come work for us.
Right.
And in our last year, we signed a deal with Fox. They had an online division called 15 Gigs, and they funded us for our last year. But they wanted to get away. They wanted to look for some new projects. So we actually, we stopped making network episodes because they had seen network. They didn't need us to make any more. They were, they'd seen as much as they needed to see to decide whether they wanted to move forward with it. So we kind of piloted out a couple new episodes, and we worked on finishing up some contracts that we had. And one of those was with G4, and that's what we made a lot of those trailers for.
Oh, okay.
So, some of the last stuff we did were those movie trailer parodies that we had contracted with G4. So I think that's why that was our last contract, our last project.
And then after Black 20 closes, I started seeing you in more commercials.
Yeah, it just, it was one of those lucky things, man. Like, as soon as, Black 20 died and I didn't have a job the next day, I was going there every day. And I managed to book that Hanes commercial maybe a couple months after. I forget when it was. But it was close enough where, like, I really felt saved, to book something big like that. And that job was just amazing. To book that was a commercial that was based out of Los Angeles, and they had auditioned all of LA for it. And they did one casting session in New York, and it was, through a satellite hookup. The creative team was able to watch my audition and talk to me and give me a little bit of feedback. And I felt good about it, but I had no idea that they would kind of take the risk of not being in the room with me, not really getting to see me. It's so different when you're doing it over a video link versus being in the room with that actor. But whatever they saw, they felt confident enough to ask me to come do it, and I was thrilled, man. That was, it's by far the biggest campaign I had done at that time. And I mean, even if it wasn't, just the fact to work with Michael Jordan was crazy.
Right.
I was thinking about it the other day. He will be the most famous person I will ever meet in my life. Like, over. I'll never meet someone more famous. It's over. I've met the most famous person that I'll ever meet, and I just need to be satisfied with that.
Yeah.
He is huge. He's global.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's like George Clooney comes, hi, Michael, I'm George Clooney. Yeah, whatever, I met Jordan.
Yeah, save it, Clooney. MJ, all right?
Yeah, exactly. That's going to be on a shirt.
Yeah. You're no MJ, Clooney.
Yeah. Sorry. But that's cool. And you also, I was doing a little bit of research, you were also voiced on The Awesomes?
I did, yeah. That came out of nowhere, man. It was a great. I've had so many things in my career have just come from other work, which is so nice. And it's a real. I mean, one, it makes me feel like, okay, I'm doing a decent job when I get these jobs, but also it's just about being. I feel like a lesson I learned early on is about just being nice, just being nice to work with, and be kind to the people you're working with, and people will want to work with you more. I remember I was doing this commercial for Hair. I think it's a German company, Haire. They do like electronics and stoves and all sorts of things.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Whatever that company is. And we were just extras. It was a group of people watching a basketball game, and then the TV was made by Hair, and the refrigerator and the stove, all these things in the apartment. But like, it wasn't about us. Like, we were just there to watch it be props around these appliances. And this one dude was on his phone the whole time. None of us had lines. It was just like, just sit there and smile and cheer for this imaginary basketball game. And in between every take, he was taking his phone out, and the director had to keep asking him to put it away. And I couldn't get over it. It was blowing my mind, like, how disrespectful this guy was. He was acting like he had so much more stuff going on. Like, just do the job in front of you, And that was just like a little moment of like, oh, I never want to be that guy.
Yeah.
I never want people to think of me the way I think of that guy right now. And I still see him sometimes around New York, and I just think like, he's he's never going to move past a certain part in his career because he's obnoxious.
Right, right.
So many of these things I feel like have come from other random things. Mike Shoemaker was a producer on Fallon when I was, when I first started going into Fallon and doing some of the bits with like the audience suggestion box and the Night News Now. Mike Shoemaker was there. Now he had a guy that I know that writes for the show, Mike DeCenzo. He and Mike Shoemaker, Mike DeCenzo was trying to find a way to bring me up as someone who should be coming in and doing things on the show. And kind of apropos of nothing, they were having a conversation about actors that, can play the straight man well. And Mike Shoemaker went, you know who I saw who I think is a funny straight man? He was this guy in this Chase Bank commercial. And DeCenzo's like, that's my buddy, that's Torpey. And he was like, oh, I thought he did a great job in those commercials. So that was kind of like the green light for me to start coming in and doing things. The fact that, my friend didn't even really have to bring me up. Right. That Shoemaker had seen it independently. So I got into Fallon a couple of times and was doing these bits for him. And, Shoemaker and Seth Meyers, I guess, had been working for a while on the Awesomes. They've been, it's kind of their pet project for a long time. And he just shot me an email out of the blue last winter saying, do you want to come in and do some voices? And I said, of course, absolutely. And Michael Gorman and I went over there together because it's comical. We can live close to each other. Everyone, I think they think we're like roommates, even though we're both married adults. I think people like to picture us in bunk beds, like two buddies sharing a cereal bowl and stuff.
Right, right.
So he just emailed us both at the same time, being like, "You guys around? You want to hang out?" And so we went in and recorded some voices for them, and it was great. It was a ton of fun, and I hadn't done a lot of that work before, so it was different and really enjoyable.
Right on. And you, speaking of Fallon, you also, because I watched Jimmy Fallon, you also got to be the announcer.
Yeah.
How was that?
Oh, unbelievable. I got that call on a Wednesday morning. I mean, there's Chris, a little insight into the world of an actor. You don't do anything until you have a job. Right. So most of my days, not that they're unproductive, but they're definitely not pretty. So unless I'm meeting someone to convince them that I should be working for them, there's no reason for me to shave or shower before 6 p.m. That just doesn't make sense. Right. So I get this call at 11:30 saying, hey, Jimmy just suggested that you announce tonight. And I just freaked out. And I was like, okay, I don't know what that means, but I know that I need to hop in the shower right this second. Yeah. So I hung up the phone. I was like, I'm just going to start washing myself and getting myself presentable and figure out what this could possibly mean later. But it was it. It was, it was day of. Hey, can you get here now? And I was like, yeah, I'm on it. And I hustled up and I got over to the studio and they were just walking me through it a little bit. And Steve Higgins came over and he was like, listen, only, Jimmy's going to look to you during the monologue. And if you've got something funny, feel free to say it. But, if it is, make sure it's funny and make sure you get in and out real quick because you don't want to slow things down. And you know what? Just don't say anything. So, got it. Steve. I will shut up. But it was great. That first night there was a little bit that was built in for me to be the scorekeeper on something, and it was so much fun. I got to do it for the month of May then afterwards, and I'm hoping with Saturday Night Live picking up again in September that they'll ask me to fill in again, because that's what it is. It's Higgins, because he works on SNL as well. On Wednesdays he goes upstairs to do their table read. And those are the days that someone needs to fill in. So I think in the past they'd been using, 80 Miles had stepped in a lot, and I think Bashir, when he was at the show, he would fill in. But hopefully they reach back out once the season starts.
Yeah, hopefully. You certainly got the pipes.
So. Thank you. Thank you. Man, there's something awesome about yelling, just kicking off a live program. Man, there's nothing more exciting. Right. Audience is there cheering their heads off. You're screaming into this microphone. The lights are low. The curtain parts. Fallon comes out. It's so exciting to be in the studio for that moment.
Mm-hmm. Well, and plus, you really, you can control the show. Because if, you come out with low energy, then it's like, okay, whatever.
That's true. That's a good point. I could definitely blow it. It's within the realm of possibility that I could ruin a show. That's true.
Exactly.
I'll just have that in the back of my head now, Chris. Thank you.
No problem. That's what I'm here for. But do you have anything going on right now? Like, have you written a script or trying to get something made, something like that?
Work with Neil Punsalon, who was one of those original Black 20 founding members. He and I have become kind of creative partners in the wake of Black 20, and we pitch shows together and are working on a couple different projects that hopefully will happen. We love them a lot. We've got a couple scripted things that we like, and we've got a late night show that we worked on that we really are hoping pans out. So we'll see. I mean, trying to keep as many irons in the fire,
Right on. But so unfortunately, I don't have any other questions other than that. Was there something else you wanted to talk about?
Not specifically, I guess. I guess the one good story I could tell you would be about how and maybe you know it, I don't know, is the origin of the name Black 20.
Do you know? No, I don't know this.
It's a beautiful tale of young kids being stupid and idealistic. When NBC first decided they wanted to take our little independent pilot and make a web series with it, when we all kind of went back to NBC for the first time, they hired us and they were like, listen, we love this pilot you guys made. Come on board. We're going to do this. And we all signed up on our contracts and we got excited. And then because it was their first online venture, they were still figuring things out, and they ended up slashing our budget. And we were kind of devastated because it was like, well, here we are. We had this independent pilot that we liked and we loved, and now you're kind of handicapping us, and we're not able to do it. And if we knew we weren't able to do it, we wouldn't have brought it to you. We would have tried to sell it somewhere else. But we were already there. We were already under contract. So we decided for our first episode, we would take the production budget and go to Atlantic City. So we're driving down to Atlantic City in the back of this car, and it's O'Gorman and I sitting in the back seat, and O'Gorman just looks sick. He feels awful about this. We're both so nervous about, is this the dumbest idea we've ever had? And we just keep saying, if we lose it all, it'll still make for a good video. So, we'll at least have that. Now, this was the peak of The Apprentice. So Donald Trump had a relationship with NBC. So we called in this crazy favor. This is what Jay Crowley was so good at. He was so good at just bullshitting his way into situations. So he called a friend, had a connection, got it in here, and all of a sudden we're like the only camera crew who's allowed to bring a camera into a casino. That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So they rope off a roulette table for us. And we take our production budget. We cash it in, we get it all in these chips. And we time out this scenario where O'Gorman and I start in one area of the casino. We walk around a bank of slot machines, and I've got a little bit of text, a little bit of copy I'm reading saying so we signed this deal with NBC, but they didn't give us enough money to make our show. So here we are in Atlantic City putting our entire budget on one roulette spin. I have it timed out, so right as I say that last line, I'm at the table. And then we look down to the side. Crowley was sitting at the end of the table, and he was going to go off of his gut, whatever energy he got, and tell us what to bet on. So we time it out once. We get there. We look down to Jay, and the guy goes to spin the ball. And the roulette guy is so nervous, he shoots the ball down the hallway. So the roulette ball goes shooting out of the spinner and bouncing down the hallway, and where everyone's like, reset. We set up, we do it again. The kid shoots the ball down the hallway a second time. So now the pit boss comes over, the guy who is running the roulette table, and he starts talking to his guy what are you so nervous about? This isn't your money. Calm down. The guy was freaking out because he was on camera. So we set it up the third time. We come down, the ball's spinning. We look down to Jay, and Jay says black. So we push our entire budget onto black. The ball spinning around here starts to rattle, and it settles into black 20. And we go absolutely nuts with jumping up and down, screaming, hugging each other, freaking out. And it made for just a phenomenal video. And it's what gave us our rallying cry when we ended up leaving NBC. We were like, listen, Black 20 helped us out before. Let's keep pushing our luck.
Right on. And so, did you basically doubled?
We doubled up, yeah. We doubled up and be able to make the episodes that we were, that we had scripted and planned to make for them.
And what did NBC say when they?
Because we won, I thought they were thrilled. We never really saw what the other potential response was, but they went nuts. I mean, they loved it.
Right on. Oh, that's awesome. Before you mentioned you were, pitching shows and stuff like that. If you're free, I want to play a little game with you.
Yeah.
It's a little improv game that I just made up called Improv Shows, where I'm going to give you 2 show titles, and you have to think of what the show's about.
Oh, I like it.
Now, I have no idea what these shows are about. I just made them up.
Yeah.
All right, so the first one is called Two of a Kind.
Two of a Kind.
Yes. Two
of a Kind is a show about 2 sets of Siamese twins.
Okay.
And they are they're older brother twins, younger sister twins. And it's all about them trying to find a different set of non-conjoined twins that they can all marry to make like a modern Brady Bunch show open.
Okay, I like that. Okay, so I'm gonna pick.
Do I own the rights to these ideas?
You know what?
Giving it over to you because I feel like that's pretty good.
You can own the rights. That's fine.
Okay. Thank you.
I can, just put my name somewhere.
Co-creator. You get co-creator.
That's fine. Either that or just name a character after me. That's fine. Either or.
Okay.
The second one that I have is called Oven Baked.
Oven Baked. Oven Baked is about a group of high school kids, a group of high school stoners that are obsessed with shrinky dinks, and one of their shrinky dinks comes to life. And they have to keep it a secret because everyone knows that they're stoners and no one will believe them. But this one shrinky dink is now like their friend, and he knows the future.
Oh, okay. All right. I gotta say I like Two of a Kind a bit more.
Okay. Listen, it's a different demo, man.
That's
all right.
That's true. You can
this is one's more Adult Swim.
You can totally make it animated.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Okay, I'm back on board.
Thank you.
I'm back. You got me. But unfortunately, I've had a blast talking with you.
Well, this has been a treat for me as well.
I'm going to spread the word that you're a nice guy. Hopefully you'll get more work, okay?
Yeah. Tell everyone that's in a position to give me work.
Right. I'll tell Clooney.
Yeah, let him know.
I will.
Because he's second to MJ doesn't mean we shouldn't hang out.
Exactly. I mean, come on. Whatever. But unfortunately, we have to stop talking now.
That's fair.
But for the people at home who want to contact you or stalk you, where can they do that?
Yeah, I would go. I have a Facebook page. It's called Fans of Michael Torpey. You can find it there. That's where I post all updates on work I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And also there's themichaeltorpeywebsite.com that has other clips of stuff that I've done and also a page about my dog George and whether or not he's been good.
Okay. What kind of dog do you have?
He's like a lab pit something mush up muck, little scrapper. He looks like a dog. Like if you give a 3-year-old a crayon and say draw a dog, this is what they'll draw. He's just this yellow dog.
Okay, right on.
He's great.
Right on. So thank you for sitting down and chatting with me.
Oh, thank you, Chris. This was fun.
Yeah, you too. And you have a good day, okay?
Thanks, man. You as well.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.